Hello, my name is Gerardo Francisco, and today I will going to present the solutions of the case econometric and election predictions. First of all, I would like to give you a little of context of the case. That is that Tabala is commissioned by the Republicans of the United States to analyze what happens in the election of 2016, that on those elections, the Republican wins. They have to propose an analysis of the data of the 2016 to be able to repeat the success of that year in the next elections, and the Republicans have a chance to win. Well, there's my model on our studio. The dependent variable was J, and the name is then rep 2016. That means that the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans on that elections. Those are the independent variables that the data gave us. That we did is to run the model with all the variables, and then only a little of the variables are significant. We need to delete the insignificant variables and run it again. And now, as we can see, we have more relevant variables to the model, only 2 no. And we need to delete those variables and run it again. As we can see here, now all the variables are relevant. And now what we need to do is to run the Harker-Bera test to, first of all, to check if the model is distributed based on a normal distribution. And as we can see here, yes, there it is. Then we run the BIF test to identify if one of the variables are not relevant. As we can see here, all the variables are relevant because no one's of the variables are higher than 10. All are lower. And now what I did is to run the BP test to identify the variance between the errors. In this case, the variance of the model are not constant. The hypothesis 0 was rejected, and the hypothesis 1 is accepted. That means that the model is heteroscedastic. As we can see here, there are less than 0.05. That means that the model is heteroscedastic. Now what we need to do is to introduce the variables on logarithms. In this case, the tool of logarithms do not function on my model. So I decide to pass to the next step. Finally, we need to do the Durbin-Watson test to identify if our model has an autocorrelation or not. In this case, by giving us the value greater than bigger than 2, in this case, this one, it indicates that our model does not have autocorrelation, which means that the results of the election of 2016 will not determine the results of the future elections. Now, what I did in the database is a simulation, and we simulate 1,599 simulations, as we can see here. Well, there's a lot of simulations. We put the dependent variable, then rep, and the independent variables that we obtain of our studio. We put in aleatory because this will give you a more realistic simulation than gave an average. And finally, we did scenarios, one pessimist, one base, and one optimist. The pessimist, we did it with the minimum of the dates of the then rep or the independent variable. The base, the base scenario, we do with average of the dependent variable. And the optimistic, we did with the max of the dependent variables. The formula that I put here on the dependent variable are of the results of the model of RStudio. That are these the results. We put these results on the formula and they gave us the dependent variables formula. And now, finally, with the conclusions and possible extensions, first of all, the recommendations to the elections of 2024 campaign, as we can see on the model, what I recommend to the Republicans is to focus on the variables that are relevant for the model, as we can see in the model, that are those variables that they are the most relevant variables that they can use to improve the campaign. And now some campaigns that can be derived from the studies, we recommend to the Republicans to focus on their campaigns of health, because as we can see here, two of the variables that the relevant variables are some people that have some padeciments. Next, we recommend to focus on young people and on the education, as we can see here at the last bachelor's degrees, total population, etc. And finally, we recommend to focus on activating the economy and to create jobs, to focus on people that has unemployment, etc. And now to finish, we like to say some words to the Republicans, and is that those variables do not guarantee the victory of the future elections, but it can help them to have some advantage. And another advice is that the Republicans need to cover the most quantity of profiles of his votes, to have the most quantity of votes, but we recommend to focus on the profiles that has the more relevant variables that we see here. This for guaranteed the more quantity of votes. Well, that's all. Thank you.